rising above the competition. This is Now Tell Us. I'm your host, Anthony Moirore, and that's the topic for today. At Now Tell Us, we have guests come and tell us stories, they come and inspire us, they come and tell us of a subject that they are passionate about. And we are always glad to hear what our guests have to say. Our guest today is known as Liam Brown, and he's going to be here shortly. But before he comes, let me remind you to please share this episode with all your friends because we are going to have a great time. If you have a question, you can always ask, and any other comment that you make, we appreciate it because we love feedback. And now, without taking one more minute, I'm going to ask you to join me as we go together to meet our guest today. Here we go. Hello, Liam.
Hi, Anthony. That was a really intense intro. The music was scary.
Oh, yeah, music is for you. It's for you because you're our
Oh,
guest today. We've
powerful.
made a special intro.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, so welcome to Now Tell Us. And
Yeah, awesome.
and we are curious, where in the world are you?
Yeah. I'm based in Pittsburgh. That's where my organization is also headquartered. So,
Mhm.
we're one of the larger esports teams on the East Coast here in the States. So that's where I'm at.
That's beautiful. Now you mentioned the word there that maybe not so common to other people, and that's where we are going to start. Esports. What is esports?
Esports, very casually defined, is really just the competitive level of professional video gaming, right? So, it playing video games professionally against other teams and organizations in multiple different gaming titles, team-based, single player, and it's a field that has existed ever since arcade games were around, and it's been one of the fastest growing ever since some of the successes with like League of Legends and CS:GO. So very advanced, quickly growing industry I find myself in.
That's
Mm.
good. So that's what you're doing on a day to day, every single day. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, I tell people all the time that I'm very lucky to have find my true passion in life, and there's never a dull moment really
Mhm.
with work, and that's one of the things that I like about it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine waking up, gaming, and all day that's gaming, and then
Yeah, it's a little. I mean, it's a little bit. My role is actually a little bit different. I'm not on the competitive gaming side. I'm on the behind the scenes. I'm
okay.
behind the scenes. So I deal with all of our guys that do game professionally.
Mm-hmm.
I myself, I don't have to. I'm not at the skill level. Let's say of gaming professionally as my career path. But who knows? Maybe down the road.
Most of us are seeing people, the young ones, the kids playing games. And talk of PS, they are always talk, I
Hmm.
want a PS, and then we see
Yep.
them in some uh, cafes playing those games, and we never imagine that this could be something that can be taken seriously by organizations.
Yeah, it's another. To me, it's another skill.
Mm,
And whether or not you view esports as like a real sport or not, when you boil what it boils down to is competitive entertainment that people want to watch,
mm-hmm,
and people are going to engage in repetitive practices or longer sessions of scrimmages against other organizations to better their skills in the game and to better put on a larger, more illustrious performance so that they can so they can compete at the top level. So,
mm.
whether or not you believe it's sports, it's really fun to watch, and I know there's millions of people that agree with me there.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
now, when you talk about organizations, what kind of organizations are we talking about here?
So in esports, when I refer to it, I refer to esports teams themselves. So the people that are competing in these different games, game developers. So in esports, the people who created the games, it's their intellectual property, so they act as the governing body. They set up the leagues, the rules, certain tournaments, those kinds of things. And then on the third tier, it's going to be the events organizers and the tournament organizers. Some of these companies that exist to um, just put on different events in gaming. My
Yeah,
my esports team is a little bit different in that we act as both a tournament and events organizer and as a competitive team. So that's kind of what I refer to when I refer to this field. Yeah.
yeah. And
Mhm.
about your role, what exactly, now in detail, maybe you can tell, what does it involve?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the team that I belong to, it's Knights Esports,
Okay.
and there's technically three. We're three companies under one umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
On the first column, it's going to be the Knights competitive entity. So it's going to be we have an active roster of four different teams that compete in four different game titles. And
Mm-hmm.
then under that same column, we have like several different content creators and influencers that further spread our fan base apart. And then on the second column, it's going to be Knights Arena. Now, Knights Arena is going to be our events and league organizing entity. So we have very good relationships with different gaming developers, and that they have entrusted us to put on different events and run leagues for prizing in gaming. So it's kind of like as if I'll bring an American example. It's kind of like the Steelers American football team was asked by the NFL, the National Football League, to
Mm-hmm.
run the NFL or run football games in the NFL. That's kind of generalized. That's kind of our relationship from the Knights Arena perspective, and then on the third column we're a tech company. So we have encoded many different technologies for a social media brand called Discord.
Mm-hmm.
And to further give people the ability to connect with others and really bring people together under the one interest that they all share in that being gaming. So that's pretty much that's kind of how, if I had like 2 seconds, that's how I would define the Knights Esports
Yeah,
and my organization.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
And now we come to the games. For some of us, or the games we know are the ones that we just see on an everyday field. What
Yeah.
are the games? What are esports? What games are they a replicant of all the games that we know of, or what kind are they?
Yeah. Yeah, no. So I mean, esports. There's a lot of different gaming titles.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, like what I see sometimes is there's even single player games. They're esports because people will compete to see who can beat the game the fastest,
Mm-hmm.
right? But on the almost traditional esports side or the mainstream esports side, you're going to see like a lot of different titles in regards to Call of Duty, Valorant, Apex Legends, League of Legends, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter. Those ones really like pop into my head as far as like gaming titles that everybody is involved in. Now, my organization, we have four teams that compete in iRacing, so in iRacing sims. Uh, Madden
Mm-hmm.
2023 and soon to be Madden 2024, Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. So it's actually the same fighter, same person. He competes in both, and then we also have a Rainbow Six team.
Mm-hmm.
So we compete in those four games. But then on the Knights Arena side, like I was mentioning, we run events for Valorant, Apex Legends, Fall Guys, Rocket League, Halo, CS:GO, Rainbow Six, and then also in addition to that, Riot Games, who is one of the largest developers in the world, they got popular from League of Legends, and they also run Valorant. They asked us to run the Valorant Challengers League with for all of North America.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like we ran the qualifiers for the Premier League for like the World Cup.
Okay.
but it's as if like all of North America was represented by one team or several teams, and we
Okay.
controlled the whole competition process for them, and then
Mm-hmm.
sent them off to the World Cup or the Premier Leagues, right? So and that's Riot liked us the most. They liked us the most when they were changing up some of their league structure. So they asked us to shrink our roster down, disband our Valorant team so that we could run events, because it'd be kind of hard to like have a Valorant team and then on the flip side run events for prizing. You know, all of our events we run for prizing.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be kind of a conflict of interest. So we are a big fan of the mentality. Why have a team when you can run the whole league? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Okay. Now
yeah,
every single day we learn something new because there's so much.
yeah. Yeah, you know, I'm on all sides of this, man, and I'm at the grassroots level explaining to people, you know, what even esports is, and
Mm,
then I'm at the higher level, like talking to either gaming executives or industry executives as to how this can pertain to them and how this can help them, right? So I'm on every side of this. So I get I get baseline level questions and more advanced questions like all the time, like throughout my life.
okay. Rising above the competition. Tell us about that. That's what
Yeah,
you.
I think a lot of that started when I was getting into this space.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the ending years of my university, and I found esports and gaming as a really cool way to bring people together. I've stated many times that's what I'm all about, bringing people together. And
Mm-hmm.
those are two spaces that I really find myself in where I'm able to enact that kind of mentality is going to be in esports and gaming, and then also in health and wellness. So I see those two ways of bringing people together. And when I was in university, that was during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that gaming was the one thing that people were still able to interact with, have that team level of experience, you know, make friends with this passion of theirs. And that really inspired me. And one thing that I feel like a lot of people did was they either just would coast through life, or they would they had their initial future plans slashed, so they kind of wandered around lost. You
Mm,
know, I from the pandemic, I was really able to hone in on my passions, and again, like rise above like what I like a lot of the people around me, so that I was better able to push towards my goal. And my goal was to bring people together. Now
mm-hmm.
I had my goal, so I had to create actionable steps for that. And one of the first steps was trying to get into this space in a very impactful way.
Mm-hmm.
After, you know, leading up to graduation from university, I found that this esports organization was based locally to me, and from there it was consistently pushing towards a position with them. I didn't know where in the ecosystem I was going to fit, but I knew I wanted to be under them, didn't matter what title.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up coming on as a corporate partnerships coordinator, because the executive staff at this organization felt like I had a real knack for people and for talking, even if I use my hands a little bit too much. And they felt that I had a real knack for people, so they put me into this department so that I would be able to interact with our current sponsors and brands that we work with, and then also bring more into this space,
Mm-hmm.
you know, with the one goal, with another goal to build up the space. Because one thing that's different about like esports is that in order to be a part of the space, you have to build the space. Whether
Mm-hmm.
you're building physical and digital infrastructure with your sponsorship with different organizations, or you're helping to provide additional unique experiences for this audience. Because, you know, the esports and gaming audience, they're cord cutters, they have like five different ad blockers on, they're higher income, but they don't respond to normal advertisements, right? So it's a very unique audience group that we represent, but it's still huge,
Mm-hmm.
right? So um I think that's kind of my verbose way of really trying to put what you said into into an answer of like rising above. So
Yeah, and thank you for that answer.
yeah.
And then you mentioned that you have a passion in health and wellness. How do the two connect? I mean, the three now in this case,
Yeah.
e-sport, e-sport, health,
Yeah.
and wellness.
Yeah, esports. what it boils down to is that in esports you're trying to increase your performance
Mm-hmm.
on the competitive side.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no better way to do that than by increasing your brain health and your brain cognition, boosting your focus. And one of the easiest ways to do that is by taking into account what is going into your body and how you're using your body.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have to overcomplicate things. There's a lot of esports teams currently utilizing health and wellness to better their teams and their rosters. They're investing in dietitians and chefs
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that their food is all taken care of and it's healthy. They're looking at the fitness and they're looking at the scheduling. So they're thinking, okay, wake up, make sure that the sleep is dialed in. So they wake up at a regimented time. They
Mm-hmm.
get up, they might work out right in the morning, or they might eat first, or then finding that schedule that works for their competitive their roster. And then in just looking at what kinds of exercises help them the most, whether it's going to be high intensity cardio training and sprints, or it's going to be like more weights, they find what works and fine tunes there so that they're able to not only increase performance in the game,
Mm-hmm.
but also in order to better increase the longevity of their career. Because let's face it, the esports athletes, they might have a shorter lifespan in their career with each team. So it might be 5 years or 6 years. I've seen some like as short as that. But with the intervention of the health and the wellness and making sure that everything is like dialed in, you're
Mm-hmm.
able to like lengthen that career to 8 or 10 or 12 years. And then you're also building those healthy habits so there's no burnout,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't leave the space feeling jaded.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as how those two connect, I feel that young people have different spaces that they can flock towards when they're looking for interest group or community. And I believe gaming and health are two that are very positive for them and their growth, and to establish friend groups. And as far as bringing them together, as far as the audience groups, they're both playing some of the same video games. They're
Mm-hmm.
watching some of the same anime. Um, and they might have some of the same career aspirations in life. So I'd love to bring those two together so that they understand that there's another side to this. There's hopefully there's like another interest that they and another group of friends that they can interact with.
Mm-hmm.
So from community and friendships to lengthening to your career to overall just building healthy habits and making sure that you're more prepared in life for whatever comes. That's really how the health and gaming discussion was born in my head, and that's really what I apply now.
And that's a good one.
Yeah.
Now, taking into consideration that most of the players, and I don't know your experience, that most of those who are doing video games are the young people. And then you talk about them growing into, yeah, competitive adults and people who are handling things in a good way. Now, I have a question. How is the influence, or what effect does gaming have on their normal day, on their education and their life
Yes.
at home?
Now, they might go down one of two paths. So if they find that there is a serious competitive career for them and there's those opportunities, just like in traditional athletics, you're going to see some people circumventing college and university and going directly into competitive gaming as a career path right after high school.
Mm-hmm.
However, on the flip side, you can take those same skills and apply it to collegiate athletics. So, most recently, a lot of different colleges and universities around the world are starting to develop esports scholarship programs because they see esports as a way, again, of competitive entertainment. So, it's another way of bringing in money to the university. So, they're investing in esports competitive teams and rosters
Mm-hmm.
so that and they're giving huge scholarships and packages to young athletes as they go into college.
Mm-hmm.
So those kinds of positions are gonna they on average are gonna flock towards like the computer science, um, the sciences, and those kinds of pathways in their university career. And then they're able to have the varsity sports experience, the jerseys, the community, the friends, the traveling for different tournaments. right in esports.
Mm-hmm.
So, as far as how it impacts your life, it before there's a lot of people who would just say, "Hey, you have to settle down. You have to like choose a career." But
Mm-hmm.
now you can either make it your career or use it as a launching point to finance your end goal of finding a good career for yourself, right? So, just like how people view traditional sports as a way to get in and into the community of universities and colleges for through athletic scholarships, the same now applies in esports.
Okay.
And with organizations like in the US, we have NACE, which is the National Association of Collegiate Esports,
Mm-hmm.
and that is just an organization of that's growing every day. Like more universities are joining onto them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the spread of games that they compete in is huge. It's there's like Super Smash teams, on like Super Smash Brothers teams, which the competitive scenes for Super Smash Brothers is like crazy. So,
Mm-hmm.
I believe so. So now it's really a choose your own adventure, and really you can choose your own destiny with how you want to take this as a younger person. Yeah,
Choose your own adventure. That's what.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Choose your own adventure. What challenges have you faced along the way? I mean, in your career,
Mm.
and yeah, tell us.
I think more recently the challenges I faced is finding and tailoring my vocabulary to fit who I'm talking to so that they can better understand the magnitude of the influence that esports and gaming has.
Okay.
Uh, so trying to identify whether it's saying, hey, like I've been looking at what you've been doing and I know who you're targeting and I have a better way of targeting that audience group through unique activations in like esports and gaming,
Mm-hmm.
or it's like or it's even more of a baseline. Hey, would you like to mix up how you're reaching out to the tech audience,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it my challenge is developing out the initial communication and making sure that they see the same value that I see, and making sure that my passion for this space, that they feel it and then they can also share it.
Mm-hmm.
um because of course I'm biased because I live and work in this space, and I enjoy this and I believe in it.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to make sure that other people that can have that same passion or feeling, or at least understand where I'm coming from.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's probably my main challenge right now. Yeah.
Okay. And then there is this one that people mention about. And now, since we are talking about video games and you introduced to as esports as the word to use,
Mm,
they usually talk about addiction. Have you
mm.
got to deal with that in any way? And how have you, what can you tell us about that?
That's I think that's a perfect question. From for me, I started gaming when I was 8 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and but I started with my parents. I started playing with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents always told me from a young age, like, there just has to be a balance. Like, we want you to play video games with your friends. But we also want you to get into sports, or we still want you to have other creative avenues for you to hang out with people, or to just give your brain a break from screens, And I believe that if there is that balance there,
Mm-hmm.
then I believe that it really you can still flourish and succeed. But one of the ways that I find the easiest ways to introduce the conversation of balance in someone's life is by bringing together the health and wellness discussion with the gaming discussion overall.
Mm-hmm.
So if people were truly wanting to either take control of their gaming addiction, or something along those lines, and they saw a problem with it, one of the easiest fixes I see is just get them a treadmill that they have to use while they're gaming.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the first things that I recommend. And then from there, just make sure that they understand that there has to be a balance.
Mm-hmm.
And then from that balance, let's introduce other interests, let's introduce other things that they can be a part of, so that they aren't addicted to just this thing.
Okay.
So with if that balance is there, I don't feel that addiction really even has the ability to set in, of addiction of any kind,
Mm-hmm.
really. But like, since we're talking about like video gaming addiction that some people like to discuss, let's take a look at the whole human being, and
Okay.
let's start to take care of them like that. Yeah.
Okay. Now, when you are talking back then about organizations, we had this idea is like you're talking of you go into a company that is doing something totally different, and then you have to
Mhm.
introduce gaming as a way of. Is there such a thing that you do? And
When I'm like talking to like different companies,
yeah,
or really just describing this.
yes, but that I mean this a normal day job where you go into an organization that is dealing with it's not dealing with sports, so you've
Mhm.
got to introduce sports as a way of keeping the people together because you say that you like
Yeah.
bringing people together. Do you have
Yeah.
such kind of thing?
Yeah, I when usually when I'm like talking to different companies, I try to find where the interest level is, and
Mm-hmm,
like what their goals are.
mm-hmm,
So from those goals, I will kind of go into what we're able to do as an organization. Um, and kind of go over how our model is different. We don't just depend on competitive representation and influencers. We also run entire events and leagues,
mm-hmm,
right? So instead of just having like your logo on our jerseys when we go to compete, you can have your logo and your messaging and your calls to action and your links in the entire stadium,
mm-hmm,
right? So I'll go in depth as to what their goals are for the space, what your interest level is, what they might be, what they might want to accomplish in gaming, and then I just kind of tailor it from there. And then that's kind of how communications go. And I just want them. I try to make people understand that I'm here to better connect them with a larger, more tech savvy, high income, cord cutting, ad blocking audience that would like to engage with their services and products, but they just need to be shown the experiences and lifestyle associated with that, right?
mm-hmm,
And like my part of my job just really is in communication, and then part of it's in marketing, creative. So I wear a lot of hats when I'm in communication with these different companies, because I am the one that is tasked with creating their presence in
mm-hmm.
a new industry.
Okay.
So I have to articulate to an entire audience group why these guys are awesome.
Mm-hmm,
And that's usually how these things go. It's like, how, first off, from the get go, where's the fit? Where could they fit in? Why does this? How could this make sense? It's not like I'm gonna, like, it's not like I'm going to take a. I'm trying to grab something random. I'm not going to grab a construction company that specializes in concrete, and I'm going to the esports and gaming audience and saying, this is why you need to support them. That company might just be looking to market themselves to other businesses as
mm-hmm,
opposed to consumers.
mm-hmm,
So, from the get go, I have to vet some of these companies and brands as to how they would fit into my space first off, and then from there really hone in on how this space could benefit them. And then from there, like, the value proposition kind of builds itself. And I believe that's kind of that's usually like my process of going in. There's a lot of research. Let's just say a lot of research goes
okay.
in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good to know that. And
Yeah.
I'm kind of thinking, and I believe also the listener or the viewer saying there's a lot there to know that
Yeah.
we shared quite little bit. And because we are almost coming to the end of this episode,
Hmm.
how can people know more about this? What we are talking about? How can they connect with you? Tell us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think that getting into this space or getting connected with a space, it just starts with the baseline level things. There's
Mm,
a lot of you just look up esports, and you're going to have a lot of different esports and gaming news outlets such as IGN, Esports Observer,
mm,
um, as ways to just learn about the space. And
mhm,
as far as like learning about the space further through competitive representation or events, I would look through Eventbrite or in your city and see if there's any gaming or esports conventions or events happening in your city, and I would go to those to get to be in person to learn about it. I would
mhm,
also, I would a lot of competitive events and tournaments and conventions, they will usually also live stream what's going on. So I
Mm,
would go and try to view those. The DreamHack's a perfect example, because what DreamHack does is their model's insane. They go to multiple countries in every continent, and they'll just go in and they'll have multiple dream hacks. So they
mhm,
do a world tour of this huge convention, and they just have a massive like computers as far as the eye can see of people that can come in and compete against each other, right?
okay.
So I would look at those events, and then I'd also check out some of the stuff that we're doing.
Mm,
I provided a link to you. Yeah, I would encourage people to go check out that Knights.gg, I believe, /NACL. That's we ran the entirety of the Valorant Challengers League for all of North America. You can go in there and see some of the cool teams that competed on our league.
mhm,
And we even had like Disguised Toast and XQC, Moist Critical pick up Valorant teams to compete on our roster. So we had like a bunch of big time influencers
mhm.
coming in and competing with us. Like, that was so cool. And if you guys want to get connected with me, and because you don't know anything about the space, or you're just trying to learn more, you can also just like reach out to me directly via LinkedIn. Liam Brown Knights on LinkedIn, and I'm the only guy that shows up. So I'm the only one of my kind.
Okay.
So but yeah, so look doing the research in from the media to looking at the live streams and the content coming to us, and maybe looking at some of the more official events, and then getting connected with me directly. I feel like those are some pretty easy first steps that I would recommend to your audience.
Okay. Thank you very much
Yeah, of course.
for all that recommendations. And I believe the one who's listening are going to follow up on that and find out more.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
I'm here for it. Sounds great.
Yeah. It's been an honor hosting you today at Now Tell Us. We appreciate your time.
Awesome. Thank you, Anthony. Thanks for having me.
We are almost coming to the end, and so we'd ask you to share with us, as always. Happens that Now Tell Us, leave us with a few words that we should always remember. Which are they?
Take your passion and a larger goal and put it into smaller actionable steps. And when I say smaller, I mean smaller micromanaged steps, whether it's getting up early, cleaning your space, and l- writing down certain keywords you're going to be looking for when you're going out on a job search. That's how fine you have to get with your goals and the smaller actionable steps in order to achieve your passion and your end goal. So take a bigger passion that you might have, split it into smaller actionable steps, and you will achieve that passion.
Wow. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of
This,
course.
this are great words that you leave us with.
Thanks. I thought of it last night. So
That's wonderful. So we really thank you once again for coming.
awesome. Thank you, Anthony.
Yeah, coming to the end of this show, I've been your host, Anthony Morore, and together with our guest today, Liam Brown, we are saying go out there and keep rising. Bye for now. Bye.